Looks like those were my lines, Mill, I said, looking at my collapsed mother-in-law foaming at the mouth. I used to suffer from stomachaches every time we had our monthly family dinners at the in-laws. I had a feeling something would happen this time since my sister-in-law, who's usually present, was not at the dinner. When they all momentarily looked away from the table, I swapped my meal with my mother-in-law's. As expected, she collapsed after eating the switch meal while she was being taken away in an ambulance. I rummaged through the kitchen, which normally only she can access, and found something shocking. My name is Kathy, 28 years old. I live with my husband, Tom, who's 2 years older than me. My father-in-law passed away from illness when my husband was little. My mother-in-law has raised my husband and his younger sister, Mo, who's 3 years his junior, by herself. Maybe because of his upbringing, my husband Tom tends to be a bit of a mama's boy. Don't get me wrong, it's not a severe case, but he appears to care about his mom more than most guys would. On the other hand, Mo has a laid-back personality. It's like she keeps a little distance from her brother and me. Or perhaps it's safe to say that she seems a bit indifferent towards us. That's probably why she's not keen on living with her mother. After graduating high school, she started living on her own and attending beauty school. Now she's a full-fledged hairstylist, bustling with work every day. I'm even a regular at the salon where Mo works and have her cut my hair. We get along really well, much like sisters who share similar interests. Including Mo, there's a tradition that's been established since Tom and I got married. It's our monthly dinner at the in-laws. When Tom moved out of his mother's house after our marriage, he proposed these dinners thinking that his mother might feel lonely. I was also worried about my mother-in-law living alone, so I agreed to these dinners. Even Mo manages to make time from her busy schedule to join these dinners, so she must be concerned about our mother-in-law as well. This dinner, a chance to bond with the in-laws, seemed successful until it started causing some issues. All the meals at these dinners were prepared by my mother-in-law, although I'm working too and can't help her every time. I offered to help on days when the dinner was scheduled on my day off. However, my mother-in-law declined my offer, saying, "Please, Kathy, take a seat. I don't really like others touching my kitchen. It's not because you're my daughter-in-law. Even Mo is not allowed here. It's my special place." And so, she wouldn't let me, Mo, or even her own son into the kitchen. Tom would say, "My mom's always been that way. Kathy, you can just leave the cooking to her." And Mo reassured me, "Kathy, you don't need to worry about helping Mom. She's efficient, and it would just be in the way to have people around." So, I decided to leave the cooking to my mother-in-law, just as my sister-in-law always said. I remember feeling a bit disappointed in myself, seeing my mother-in-law, Mill, skillfully managing everything from afar, and realizing I wouldn't be much help in that situation. It goes to show how adept my Mill is. The family dinners are always held in a very harmonious atmosphere. They begin with a recap of the past month. Then we touch on recent news. And perhaps the most interesting part would be Sue's client stories from her salon. It always amazes me how diverse her clientele is. Yet I also worry about whether dealing with all these people causes her stress. However, Sue has a strong mentality, and she doesn't seem to feel much stress. In fact, she said that being able to share these stories at the dinner helps her de-stress. My Mill also keeps us entertained with her own work stories and the TV dramas she's been obsessed with lately. Plus, the food was delicious today. Maybe next time, you should learn how to cook from her, Cassie. You think she'd teach me? She might not let you into her kitchen, but she might agree to teach you in ours. It wouldn't hurt to ask, right? I see. It would be nice to learn from her at our place. Maybe she would agree to that. I'll ask her at next month's dinner. Such peaceful conversations like this would carry us home. However, at some point, I started to have stomach problems the day after these family dinners. Initially, I thought it was due to overeating, but when it started happening every month, I realized something was off. Of course, I was careful not to overeat and avoided certain foods that didn't sit well with my stomach, like dairy. But even so, I started having stomach issues. I couldn't bring myself to tell my husband about this. I knew how much he cherished his mother, so I couldn't casually bring up, "I'm having stomach problems after these dinners. What should I do?" Since I couldn't talk to my husband about it, there was someone else I could confide in. "So, Mo, what do you think I should do? Am I the only one who's having these stomach issues?" Mo was the easiest person to talk to about these things. While cutting my hair at her salon, Sue said, "I'm not having any stomach issues, so maybe it's just you." Today, I had made an appointment for a haircut and color at Mo's salon. If it's just me, why do you think that is? Do you think there's something that doesn't sit well with my stomach? I'm not sure. We're all okay. So maybe there's something that only you can't handle. So it's a family tolerance thing. Then I need to figure out what that food or dish is. Hey, Kathy, could it be that you're simply eating too much? No, I've been mindful not to overeat ever since I first suspected that. Well, then you should indeed try to figure out which food or dish is causing this. Yeah, you're right. Thanks, no worries. I didn't really give you any solid advice, but as long as you're okay with it. No, it was enough. So I decided to find out what was causing my stomach issues during these family dinners. But finding it wasn't that easy, and I ended up repeating the cycle of having stomach issues after every dinner. And thus, a year passed since our marriage. We've had about 12 family dinners. I had come to accept that having stomach problems after these dinners was just a part of the routine. I tried to avoid certain suspicious foods, but to no avail. I even started to suspect that something was being added to my food specifically. And the 13th family dinner was approaching. For tomorrow's dinner, Mo was too busy to attend, so it would just be me, my husband, and my meal. I was feeling a bit heavy-hearted about it, but my meal seemed unusually upbeat. Today, I got some beef at a really good price, so I made 100% beef meatloaf. I know you, Tom, love it. I also prepared sides that you, Kathy, like. It's such a shame Mo can't be here today. She's missing out on such a lucky day. I wondered what got into her, feeling skeptical. I was apprehensive about the dish placed in front of me. It felt like my intuition was telling me not to eat today's dish, which was strange because I never felt like that before. But what if something really did happen? I didn't know what to do. And at a moment when everyone was engrossed in the TV, I swapped my dish with my MILs. I felt guilty, but I decided to trust my intuition. Despite feeling guilty, my mother-in-law, whom I'll call Susan, was determined to trust her intuition. And thus, the dinner party began. As usual, we all shared updates about our lives, creating a warm and friendly atmosphere. However, a lingering sense of guilt over swapping our meals made it difficult for me to make much progress with my food. I nibbled on my hamburger while sipping the corn soup that came as a side dish. This was something I couldn't switch out, and I couldn't help but wonder if something had been tampered with. Despite this suspicion, I felt I had to eat something or else I'd arouse suspicion. So after a while, I suddenly felt suffocated and fell. Bam! I toppled from my chair. Upon seeing this, Mill broke out into a glinting smile. Finally, the poison has taken effect, she said. What? Poison? But soon after, my shortness of breath disappeared. Managing to stand, I took a glance at the dinner table and noticed that MIL's hamburger was almost gone. A few seconds later, Mil collapsed, foam bubbling from her mouth. "Mil, it seems the tables have turned," I retorted and instructed Tom to call an ambulance. Rushed to the hospital was Mil. Accompanying her in the ambulance was Tom, oblivious to the events that had just transpired, since I hadn't yet told him about the aftermath of the dinner. He was in a state of confusion. Nonetheless, we managed to get her in the ambulance and off to the hospital. While we waited for her to be transported to the hospital, I decided to investigate the kitchen, a place where only Mil had been allowed. There had to be some evidence. With that thought, I opened each meticulously arranged kitchen cabinet. Finally, when I opened the cupboard beneath the sink, I found a pesticide deep inside. Pesticide in such a place. Next to it, I discovered a super strong laxative. Aha! So this was why I had diarrhea. I finally understood the cause of my stomach discomfort over the past 6 months. But why would Mil do such a thing? I thought we had a good relationship. I can't recall any issues. Despite this, as I was mulling over these thoughts, the doorbell rang. It was Mo standing there. I quickly let her in and informed her about Mil's collapse. I also showed her what I suspected caused the collapse. "Mom, she put this in the food." Yes. I had this gut feeling that I shouldn't eat today's meal. Despite feeling guilty, I asked Mil to switch our meals. And sure enough, Mil collapsed. I can't believe Mom would do such a thing. Also, it seems like this was the cause of my stomach discomfort these past few months. What I showed her was the laxative. Super strong. How? Why would she choose something like this? What on earth was she thinking? We both could do nothing but shake our heads in disbelief. At that moment, we received a call from Tom, who had accompanied my Mil. The news was that they had found a hospital. Mo and I took the evidence, the pesticides and laxatives, and headed to the hospital. Upon arriving at the hospital, my Mil was still under treatment. She must have ingested a substantial amount of pesticides. She was still unconscious. Nevertheless, the medical staff worked tirelessly to treat her. My Mil did not wake up that day, but finally, the next day, she regained consciousness. Where am I? Holding the hand of my Mil, who had regained consciousness. It was Tom who answered. "We're in the hospital, Mom. You collapsed after eating food laced with pesticides. Do you remember?" After hearing these words, my Mil thought for a few seconds. Why did I collapse? I mixed pesticides into Kathy's food. Oh, she confessed her crime so easily. Tom must have found it strange as well. "Mom, what do you mean? Why did you have to mix pesticides into Kathy's food?" It seemed like my Mil finally realized she had slipped up with her words. "Oh, well, I don't know anything about pesticides. Did I say something like that?" She tried to play it off with a laugh, but it was too late for that. After all, both pesticides and laxatives had been found in the kitchen of my Mil's house. Mo approached with the evidence. "Mom, this is the evidence. It was found under the sink in the kitchen. You can't deny it now. Explain to us why you did such a thing." My Mil looked down, but after a while, she stared at us and said, "I hate this daughter-in-law. She's not good enough for Takafumi." And I started mixing in laxatives as a way of harassing her, but she didn't react at all. "So you started escalating things?" Mo asked. "Yes, I thought she was unaffected, and I started increasing the amount of laxatives. But she kept attending the family dinners as if nothing was wrong. I was fed up. That's why this time, I put pesticides in with the intent to get rid of her for good." "So you were trying to take Kathy's life. That's what I've been saying, isn't it? Takafumi doesn't need a wife like this." And with that, my Mil screamed out loud. My Mil was there when Tom started to speak up. An old girlfriend used to say the same thing, that she would get sick whenever she had a meal with you, Mom. I didn't believe her, thought she was being disrespectful. But it turns out she was right. Mom, you've been repeating the same pattern all this time. I never expected to hear such a truth from Tom. My mother-in-law is flustered by Tom's confrontation, but I had no choice, didn't I? I had to eliminate the bad influences getting close to you, Tom. You should understand, calm. All I've done was out of concern for you. I've done nothing wrong. Even at this point, my mother-in-law's saying it's all for Tom. It was impossible to believe such a thing. Or didn't she just admit earlier that she simply dislikes me? Even Tom seemed to have lost faith in my MIL's excuses. It was then that Mo spoke up. Hey, are we reporting this incident to the police? If you think about it, isn't this an attempted murder case? My Mill was shocked. Wait, Mo. Are you planning on turning me into the police, Mo? But what if Kathy had unknown and ate the food and collapsed? Mom, did you plan to help her? I guess not. You even said you wished Kathy would just disappear. That would have made you a full-fledged murderer, Mom. It just happened to be an attempted murder. I think we should definitely report it to the police. Mo stated this coldly. Mo, aren't you going a bit overboard? After all, it ended with Mom being the only one in distress. There's no need to report it to the police. What do you think, Kathy? Mo asked me. I think if my Mill is truly repentant, then that's fine. But I never want to have a dinner party again. And I don't even want to see her face for a while. I think it would be best to leave it at that. That's it. If Kathy says so, I won't say any more. Mo seemed satisfied with my saying that I wouldn't report to the police. But it seems that my Mill won't get away without any repercussions. After that conversation, Tom, who had always cherished his mother, said we would no longer have dinner parties. We also decided to keep a certain distance from my Mill. I ended up not having to interact with her at all, only when there was a need. Tom alone would visit my Mill. Even that was to be reduced as much as possible. Of course, Mo will hardly ever meet my Mill, since they hardly ever saw each other unless there was a dinner party. I suppose that's inevitable. After all, my Mill has brought this upon herself. According to Tom, who occasionally meets her, my Mill has noticeably aged. I heard that she's gotten a lot more gray hair and she doesn't smile as much. But we can't go back to the way we were right away. My Mill must reflect deeply on her actions. As for us, though the once-a-month dinners with the in-laws are gone, Mo and I have continued to have monthly dinners, just the two of us. I intend to keep up this relationship with Mo and continue these dinners. Moreover, now that the stress of dining with my Mill is gone, I am happy to report that I am pregnant. I don't know the gender yet, but I am overjoyed regardless. Mo is also very pleased and has already said excitedly, I'll make sure to cut the baby's hair nicely and make it cute. Feeling the joy of a new life coming, I hope to spend peaceful and calm days ahead.